Scholars. This is your Jesse Stiles. Welcome to a very special episode of Twisted Signals. Today we are going to make a Max patch that uses Node.js to go into twitch.tv. Maybe you've heard of it. People play video games and they say things. We are going to pull messages out of the chat windows in Twitch and turn them into sounds. And the library we are going to use to do this is this one, tmi.js. So first, let's go into the terminal and set up this project. I am currently in my home directory, and I'll move on to my desktop. And I'm going to make a new folder here called tstmi. And then I'll go into that folder. And it is currently empty, so the ls command gives me nothing. Let's start a new npm thing, and I'll just say yes to everything. If I do ls now, I've generated this package.json, which is great. Now let's install this library with this command. Do it. Okay, if we ls, we now have the package lock file, plus this folder with all of the things. As a reminder, if you're sharing your project with other people, generally you do not want to include this folder. You can let them install these libraries themselves. And that's all we need to do in the terminal. We can now go into our text editor. I'm using Atom, and in Atom I can add this project folder. And you can see the files that are already here. And we can create a new file. And this is the JavaScript file that will work inside this project folder. Now in Max, we can make the Max patch. And we're going to save this in the same folder as well. We're going to use node.script to run this JavaScript file. Because they're all in the same folder, it should find it automatically. And we're going to add a node.debug to make sure that everything is running. Let's also add auto start and watch. Plus, let's add a print to print out all the messages that come out this outlet. Okay. Back in the JavaScript file, of course, we need the Max API. So we'll make a const called Max API, and it will import the Max API written thusly. Now that it's imported, we can send things to outlets, like so. This will send the message hello world when the script starts running. Back in Max, it works. Because watch is set to 1 and because it auto starts, every time we save the file, it's going to restart this script. So if we change this message, it's going to restart it and you see the new message here. Okay, the example code we're going to use is this. It requires us to have a Twitch account, which we do have. And then we need to generate a secret OAuth token to access the Twitch API and receive and send messages. You don't really want to share this with other people, so I don't want to put my password in my main JavaScript file. I'm going to show you a kind of workaround. We're going to go back into our project folder and make another file called keys.json. Here is keys.json. We'll put some squiggle brackets and then we can add things to this keychain. So we can add an item called secret, and then it can have some value, like I like ducks. Back here in our JavaScript, we can create a const named keys, which imports the keys file, like so. And now that it's imported, we can do things with things inside that file. So we could say keys.secret. Let's look in Max, and great. You can see when it starts the script, it prints the message, which you can see right here. And then the next thing it's printing is keys.secret. This value is not actually in my JavaScript file. It's imported from over here. And we could add other things by putting in a comma. Let's put an underscore. So here we can print out another secret. And you can see it's getting both of these items from the keychain. So this is the method we can use to generate a secret OAuth token and have our JavaScript file use that token without actually putting the password in the JavaScript file. So to generate this OAuth, you can use this tool here at twitchapps.com/TMI. I'm already logged into the Twisted Signals Twitch account. So if I were to click this button, it would generate my password and you'd see it on the screen and you can copy it. So I'm going to click this button and then I'm going to put it in my keys file under the name token. And then in my JavaScript, I'll just refer to that token rather than putting the actual password in. So let's stop the recording and then click that button to get the new password. Okay, so I went and made my token. It's in my keys file. And if I were to run this code, it would print it out. Of course, I don't want to print it. I don't want to show you this password. We're just going to use it to do stuff. So it's going to look like that inside our code. All right, let's now look at this example code from the library. I'll just copy and paste it into here. All right, so we're importing this library, which we already installed. Our username is Twisted Signals. I'm going to start off by just running right inside the Twisted Signals channel. And my password is keys.token, which is the value that's written inside this file. Okay, let's save this. Let's go back to Max. Hopefully there's no errors. Okay, no errors. It's printing out hello world. And this is a basic bot where you can send this message in the chat and the bot will respond with this response, hey ya. So we could go to twitch.tv and we can go to the Twisted Signals channel. Even though it's not live, we can still go into the chat. And let's try to talk to the bot. It works. So when we say exclamation point hello, it replies heya. And we could make it have some other response. Like so. So if we go back into Twitch, super. So Max is running this Node.js server and it's responding to messages. Now, what I really want to do is, I don't want a bot. I just want to take the messages from this chat window and turn them into sounds. So actually, all I really want to do is make a max outlet and pass to the outlet the content of every message. And I don't actually need all this bot stuff, so I'll just comment it out. So this should simply connect to the channel and then pass the messages to the max outlet. So, ooh, we have an error. Did I put a bracket in a bad place? If you get an error, you need to actually manually restart the script. Okay. What did I do wrong? Dun, dun, dun. Is it this? Probably. Okay. So let's go to the channel and try to send a message into max. Hello, cool. So whatever gets said in the Twitch channel is getting printed out here in max. So now that we have that working, let's go to some active Twitch channel where there's people sending lots of messages. I have decided that going to a Animal Crossing channel would maybe be a safe bet in terms of content. I made a terrible mistake earlier today when I tested this out on a League of Legends channel and people were saying terrible things. So hopefully a channel like this will be a little more safe for work. So the channel is Dan's Gaming. It's making me watch a frickin' ad, but hopefully there's people talking in the chat window. Are they? It says there's 2,000 people watching. Oh, followers only chat. Dan. Oh wait, no, there we go. People are chatting. It was just a lull. Okay, so we can listen to Dan's channel. If we just update the code there and go back into max. Great. We are getting these Twitch messages into our patch. So I want to convert these messages into sounds. We've just been learning about the FFT. I was thinking maybe we could convert these characters from their messages into amplitude values in the spectrum and just synthesize them. So all of these messages, these are just a string of characters, and we could convert those into numbers and think of them as amplitudes in an FFT. You can see that a message that has many words is coming in with quotation marks. So that means it's a symbol. We can convert it into a regular list using this object from symbol. And that should be just a string of characters now. And to convert the ASCII characters into numbers, we can convert ASCII to integers, and this will give us the code number for every character inside this message. So here you see the original message, and here you see it as a string of numbers, and we could look at that list of numbers in a multi-slider. The range is going to be 0 to 255. because these are characters. So let's make this slider go from 0 to 255. Okay, so we're going to try to just convert this into a sound spectrum. So to do that, we're going to need to make another patch that runs inside of a PFFT. So here's my new patch, and let's call this TMI PFFT. And we'll add a FFT input and another inlet for control data, so in2, and then we'll add an FFT out, like so. All right, back here on the main patch, let's make a PFFT that can load this patch we're making, TMI PFFT. We've got one inlet for audio. We're actually not even going to use this. We're just going to send the list to the second inlet, and then we will get audio out into our speakers right here. So let's pass this list into the second inlet. Go back into our PIFT patch, and let's find out the size of the FFT using FFT info, and we're going to load bang it, and we will use that to set the size of this buffer that will hold the amplitude values. So we can say this message size in samps, and the size is going to be the number of frequency bins in our FFT, which is 256. So if you open this buffer, you'll see this tiny little buffer that holds 256 samples, and there's nothing in it. So we're going to take our list here. Remember, these are in this range of 0 to 255. So we could normalize that using vexpr, which does math on a list. So let's just get them, we'll divide by 255, and that'll give us numbers between 0 and 1 every time we get a new message. Looks good. And we're going to write these into our buffer using peak tilde and list funnel. So list funnel is going to take that list of numbers and break them out into individual values that are also indexed. So if we actually printed this out, you can see that we've got index 0 through 21 followed by every value. That's exactly the format that Peak expects in order to write those into the buffer. So if we look at our buffer now, yeah, you can actually, these are our Twitch messages getting written into this buffer. And I'm just going to watch them for a minute to make sure they're doing everything I want them to. Okay, one thing I'm noticing is that if somebody sends a short message, it doesn't erase all these longer values or higher values inside the buffer. So I'm actually going to, before I write these values, clear the buffer every time. So I'm going to use a trigger, and the first thing we'll do is clear the buffer, and the second thing we'll do is output the list into list funnel. And I think we'll see that it erases the buffer and then writes the new values into an empty buffer. There we go. Sweet. Okay, so that's the spectrum we want to synthesize. We're going to use index tilde to read out those samples from the amplitudes, and we're going to use this third outlet to create the frequency bin index. And if we're going to consider those as amplitude values within our sound spectrum, we need to convert them into Cartesian values. So this inlet is for the amplitudes, and it converts them into real and imaginary, and that's the type of signal that we expect to pass into an FFT out. Before I do that and potentially start making some sound, we also need to send some values in here for the phases. So I'm just going to use noise. Okay, now let's hook up the real and imaginary signals here. Let's save this patch. And we won't get anything until somebody sends a new message, or I can just resend this old message here. Why is that not working? Oh, it goes there. There we go. Okay, there you have it, folks. We've got messages coming in from Twitch. We're converting them into a list of numbers by converting the ASCII data into integers. And then that is generating a spectrum. You can actually see it in a spectroscope down here. Okay, that's it. Just another magical day converting stuff into other kinds of stuff using Max. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.